have to be really, really conscious of how you're spending your money if you have more income coming in. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dina Danielle, and today I'm talking about money habits that kept me broke. Ugh. So obviously it is important to be looking at your finances and adjusting. One of the things that I did not do was budget. I know this is like probably finance 101, but I did not do it. And maybe I tried a little bit, but every attempt failed, like pretty massively, until my friend sent me a spreadsheet with some algorithms. I'm not very good at Excel, but he sent me this spreadsheet with some algorithms already put into it that helps me to budget everything. So that is the first thing. You must budget. It doesn't really, I mean, it matters, but it doesn't matter as much how much money you are making. You just need to be able to put that into a spreadsheet and budget out. So within that budget, it had your income at the top. It had car payment 1, car payment 2, insurance, gas, basically everything that you would need for the car. And this is probably a way bigger thing in the United States than it is in other countries. Because we are so reliant on cars. Let me go get the spreadsheet. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly where he got this, but he shared it with me, and it has income at the top. It has Social Security, pension, retirement, other government benefits, royalties, like rents received if you have a rental property and you're receiving money from that, interest, dividend, and student loans if you're receiving them in, and then your total monthly income. And then the monthly expenses, so vehicles and transportation is one section, and with that it has car payment 1, car payment 2, monthly gasoline. It has average monthly car insurance, parking tolls, taxi, bus, train fare if you're taking public transportation, average monthly spending on auto service, which is basically how much you're spending per year, and then you divide it by 12 months to put it in monthly. So obviously if you have like a newer car, it's going to be less. If you have a car that's more expensive to repair, like a BMW and Audi compared to a Toyota, it's going to be more. And then registration and license renewal, and obviously that's a yearly fee, but you do the same thing and you divide it by the 12 months and put that in there. And then for monthly expenses, it has rent, groceries. It had something else here, but I changed it to make it make more sense for me, because some of these expenses I did not have, so I would add something else in. So for me, it was like self-care, clothing, therapy, and any lessons that I was taking, and then cigarettes and beer, which is like nothing for me. Anyways, you don't need to know that. Tuition, or private school, and then travel budget, and also breakfast, lunch, coffee, snacks at work. Each of those sections are a different row in this spreadsheet. And then you have loan payments. So you have mortgage, home equity loans, student loans, consumer furnishing, debt consolidation, loan payments, personal money owed to family and friends. I feel like that's something that people forget a lot. Like my friend was like, oh, he borrowed money from his dad and he has to pay his dad back, but he forgot to include it in his budget. So I feel like this spreadsheet really does cover a lot. And then you have insurance, you have home, renters, health insurance, life insurance, Medicare. You have your bills, electric, phone, cellular, water, trash, cable, internet, taxes, and then a bunch of miscellaneous stuff that may or may not apply to you. You also have savings. So that is the next big thing that I want to talk about. So the first thing that I was doing wrong was I was not budgeting, at least not budgeting properly. The second thing that I was doing wrong was I did not have a savings account. Let that sink in. No savings account. I had a checking account, I had another checking account, I had a credit card account, I had a Roth IRA, which I really wasn't putting that much money into. And the thing is, I had no savings account. So this spreadsheet helped me so much because it was also at a time where I started making more money and I was able to save more. So the other thing I would say that kept me broke is also just not making a lot of money. I feel like I was behind everyone salary wise because when I graduated college, I went to Spain and I taught English for a year, and obviously I didn't make that much doing that. And then when I came back, a lot of my friends that had graduated college around the same time as me already had like full-time jobs with benefits, and I wasn't making as much as them. And obviously, if you're not making as much, it can be harder to save. So having a savings account and making more money went hand in hand in how I could save more. But if you are still not making what you want to make, you should still have a savings account and at least put some money aside into that account monthly or bi-weekly whenever you get a paycheck, and put a percentage of that paycheck into your savings account. You should also set goals for yourself. So that's another thing that I was not doing, which was I'm gonna save this amount of money by this time. So when I got this spreadsheet, it helped me so much because I could lay everything out and say, oh, if I actually follow this spreadsheet, I can save X amount by this date. And that was the first time I ever hit my savings goals, was when I had this spreadsheet. And I opened a savings account and I was diligent about putting the money in there. One of the things for me that also kept me broke was traveling. Let's be honest. I traveled a lot and I spent a lot of money on traveling. You can definitely travel on a budget, and I do think travel is one of the most enriching experiences. And am I upset that I spent money on it? No, not at all. But it's also one of the things that all of any extra income that I had would go towards traveling, taking a trip, or moving to another country. So I think as you get older, you do need to get a little bit more real with yourself, because you're not invincible. You're not going to be able to work forever, and you do want to have some savings, some money saved for retirement, and also a buffer in case something goes wrong. If there's an emergency, you need to have some cash stacked just in case. So yes, traveling was one of the things that probably kept me broke. However, I don't regret it. And I think that really also comes down to budgeting. You can travel on a budget, and you can definitely include that in your budget. And there's no one right way to budget. Everyone has different priorities. Some people might favor experiences more, and someone else might want a new car. As long as you're able to like put that into your budget and have money left over and allocate money towards the things that are priorities, like rent and food and those kinds of things, then you're able to use your leftover budget towards the fun things, which are like travel or clothing or experiences. I would say travel for sure, but don't put all of your extra money into travel. And I think this is a really hard thing for people to do because it's so enticing. My other friend travels all the time, and he's always wondering, like, where does all my money go? And I sat down with him and I did the budget, and I was like, you're really spending way too much for what you are making. You're spending way too much on hotels, entirely too much. Yeah, you really gotta be real with yourself, sit down and look at the numbers. So another thing that applied to me that was probably keeping me broke is that I had a car payment and I was paying off the minimum. I, like I said, wasn't making very much money, so it wasn't really possible, or maybe it was because I didn't budget, so I didn't know. Maybe it was possible to pay a little bit more, but I was paying off the minimum car payment each month, and it did take me years to pay off my car. So I would say if you have debt, work hard to pay off more than is required of you monthly, because that debt interest rates are crazy right now. But if you don't do that, you're paying so much interest, and it's just not worth it. So pay off your debt as quickly and efficiently as possible, and then you'll have more money left over in the future for the fun things. Lifestyle creep. Okay, so I think this is a really tough one because once you're making more money, the tendency is to spend more money. However, that keeps you poor. It really does. It just keeps you living paycheck to paycheck. Say you get a bigger salary and then you get a more expensive apartment and you get a new car, so you have a higher car payment, and you're buying nicer clothes, so you're spending more on clothing. It's like all of those things are going to keep you at the same level. Basically, you will have the same money left over as you did when you were making a lower salary. It's just that you have nicer things. So I think it's not to say don't ever buy new things, don't treat yourself. No, that's not the point. But I think you have to be really, really conscious of how you're spending your money if you have more income coming in. Is it really worth it? Do you really need a nicer apartment? Do you really need a nicer car? Do you really need that handbag and those new shoes? Or is that money you can save, you can invest, or you could put towards a fund that you're saving for to buy a new home, for example? Like, is that money better allocated to something else? So I think you have to be really conscious, really aware of lifestyle creep once you start moving up the corporate ladder, or you're just creating more income for yourself. Or if you get an inheritance or something like that, you win the lottery, who knows, Actually, that's a really good example, because people who win the lottery often, like, they get a big chunk of cash and then they go out and buy a huge house and cars, and that money is gone so quickly. It's kind of like the new money thing. It's like people that get new money often spend it so quickly. You can see that with a lot of sports stars. Like, they might play football and they don't realize the trajectory of their career, and their career is only gonna span so many years. So they get a bunch of new money and go out and spend it, and unfortunately, like, a lot of those people are left with needing to get like a regular job or just not as much money because they didn't handle their finances well. Just being really aware and conscious of when you get additional money coming in, how you're spending it or how you're not spending it, and how you're saving it to have a better future for yourself. So this is pretty similar to the creep, lifestyle creep, is living beyond your means. And I can say there is one instance where I think that I did this. I was not making very much money when I first moved to Los Angeles, and instead of getting a roommate, I rented out a studio apartment. And luckily and not so luckily, because it wasn't a great relationship, but my boyfriend ended up moving in with me, and so the rent was split in half. But I wasn't really using my best judgment, I think, with that. So I would say just be really conscious of the decisions that you're making in terms of lifestyle and not living above your means. If you are making $40K per year, for example, you probably don't want an apartment that costs like $1,500, $2,000. Like, stay within something that's comfortable for you, and you're not going to stress yourself out that way. And then you're also able to save. I think also older people could probably look back and say this. I don't think I'm at this point now, but it is something that I regret not doing sooner, is saving for retirement. So like I said, I have a Roth IRA and like put some money in there, but I'm saving, but it's not that I'm specifically saving for something or saving for retirement. And I think if the company that you're working for, you don't have a regular job, and they're not like, they don't have a company match, like a lot of companies have, will match you this amount if you put this much into your retirement account. It can be tough. So that's just something that I regret not doing sooner and not starting sooner. And I think realistically, like, I have seen older people, unfortunately, not save for their retirement or not save enough, not be conscious of the fact that they should be saving for retirement, living longer than they expected to live because life expectancy is changing, or they just outlive what they had saved for. I just don't think you ever want to be in that situation and need to downsize because that's uncomfortable. So I think just saving more than you expect you will need for retirement is a good plan of action. The other thing that I think that I had a bad habit around was my money mindset. So I think this is the last and final thing that everyone should really explore. For me, money was very rarely talked about. It was kind of a hidden, secretive thing in my family, which I just feel like I wasn't very educated around money for that reason. And if I have kids, I would definitely broach the subject and talk to them differently about money than my parents did. I'm sure they did the best they could, but it just created this lack mindset, like we can't talk about it because it's like this finite resource. But I think you need to think of money a little bit more like energy, like it's something that you do spend and comes back to you. It's not like you spend it and you never get any back, which is sort of like how I felt that money was in my family. Like, you had to be super frugal, like don't put guacamole on your burrito and don't buy those 20 pair of shoes, which I guess isn't necessarily bad, but there needs to be some balance there. So I think there just wasn't really balance and it wasn't talked about. So I didn't understand budgeting, I didn't understand investing, I didn't understand what kinds of accounts you should have. And all of that is very, very important. And I think each person growing up has a different kind of money mindset that's sort of ingrained within them. So looking at that, taking a deep dive into what yours is and relearning and re-educating yourself is very important. So I hope you guys really like this video and it helps you with creating new money habits. I'm in no way, I would say, like a financial expert at all, definitely not, but these are just some of the things that I have learned personally through my journey, through my 32 years of life, and I like to think that I'm smarter and better at budgeting now. So yeah, I hope you can take a few of these things with you. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you so much for watching.